I'd like to welcome everybody this afternoon. Hopefully, you're all inside and staying warm. Tonight, we're going to start a series that's probably going to go for several weeks. It's called The Anxious Generation, and it's a study talking about the effects social media have on teenagers and young adults. And tonight, we're just going to go over the overview and the preview. And then starting next week, we'll start getting into it. I would recommend that if you want to follow along, you can purchase the book. It's called Anxious Anxiety by Jonathan Haidt. It's available on Amazon. Or else you buy books. I don't know. But so I have Riley and Alexis here tonight, and they're going to each begin discussing the overview, the terms, so you're a little bit more familiar as we go through this lesson. Okay?
Yes. So I'm going to go over the index of terms me and Riley are. I'm going to start with the adolescent mental health. And what that is, it refers to the psychological well-being of individuals, typically aged 12 to 18. The book explores the rising mental health issues among adolescents, including increased rates of anxiety and depression, which is a big one. This term is central to the book's examination of how modern digital environments, particularly social media, contribute to these problems. The next one is a carpenter parenting. This describes a highly structured approach to child rearing where parents attempt to mold their children into specific shapes, similar to how carpenters work with wood. Gopnik contrasts this method with gardener parenting, suggesting that carpenter approach contributes to overprotection and limits children's ability to develop independence and resilience, which you'll see more throughout the book. The next term is collective action problem. This occurs when individuals would all benefit from a certain action, but it has associated costs that will make it unlikely for any person to perform alone. The author uses this concept to explain why it is difficult for parents to limit their children's smartphone use or encourage even more free play. Without broader societal support, these measures feel punitive rather than beneficial. And then the next term we're going to go over is digital detox. This refers to a period during which an individual abstains from using digital devices like smartphones and computers. The author advocates for digital detoxes as a way to reset the brain's dopamine system and reduce dependency on digital stimuli, therefore improving mental health and attention spans, which I have seen more recently with different podcasters and things like that. The next term I'm going to go over is digital social networks. These are platforms like social media, Instagram, and a big one, TikTok, where users create profiles, share content, and interact. Haidt explains how these networks have transformed childhood and adolescence, leading to increased social comparison, cyberbullying, and mental health issues. Now I'm going to pass it over to Riley. She's going to go over some more index terms with us.
So the next one we have, Alexis mentioned it, the gardener parenting. This term, coined by, again, Alison Gopnik, describes an approach where parents provide a nurturing environment that allows children to grow and develop naturally. Haidt endorses this method of child rearing as a way to promote independence, resilience, and mental well-being in children, contrasting it with the more controlling carpenter parenting. The next one we have here is great rewiring. The great rewiring refers to the rapid integration of smartphones and social media into everyday life between 2010 and 2015. Haidt argues that this period marked a significant shift in how children and adolescents interact with the world, leading to widespread mental health issues and a departure from traditional play-based childhoods. Our next term is the Let Grow project. And this is an initiative that encourages children to take on independent activities that they haven't done before. And this fosters a sense of competence and reducing anxiety. Haidt highlights this project as a practical way for parents to combat overprotection and promote childhood independence. The next one is mental health crisis. And we hear that term all the time. And this refers to the significant and growing prevalence of mental health issues, such as anxiety and depression among adolescents. The author attributes this crisis to changes in childhood environments, in particular, the rise of digital technology and decreased opportunities for unsupervised play in real world social interactions. That is a huge one.
Yes.
Next one is phone-free schools, and these are educational institutions that actually ban the use of smartphones during school hours. The author argues that such policies can significantly improve academic performance and social interactions among students, and because that will reduce distractions and encourage face-to-face communication.
Which they have implemented into a lot of states.
Have they
thus
really?
far. Yes. I know our state is one of them.
Okay.
We cannot have phones in a school building, and so I think that's
Awesome.
really interesting.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is
Cool.
really awesome. I'm going to go over the last few of the terms, starting with the play-based childhood. You'll see this a bunch. It emphasizes unstructured, free play as a crucial aspect of child development. The author advocates for a return to play-based childhoods. He argues that it fosters creativity, social skills, and resilience, which are diminished in screen-dominated environments. And now the next term is screen time. You've probably heard it a bunch. It's the amount of time spent using devices with electronic screens. That goes for smartphones, tablets, and computers. Haidt explains that negative impacts of excessive screen time on children's mental and physical health, advocating for strict limits to encourage more real-world interactions and physical activity. Our next term is social media, which most of us have. That encompasses platforms where users create and share content and engage in social networking. The author identifies increased use of social media as a major factor in the rise of adolescent mental health issues, linking to increased anxiety, depression, and social isolation, which is one of his main points in this book. Our next one is unsupervised play. This refers to children engaging in play activities without direct adult supervision. The author promotes unsupervised play as an essential developing independence, problem-solving skills, and social competence, which are undermined by overly protective parenting and constant digital environment and engagement.
Mm-hmm.
The virtual world is our last term in these terms in our index of terms, and this is going to be our virtual world, which a lot of us live in. This includes online environments and digital spaces where individuals interact through technology. The author contrasts this with the real world, arguing that excessive engagement in the virtual world leads to social fragmentation, anxiety, and a lot of community among adolescents, and a loss of community among our adolescents.
Okay, so the next thing I'm going to go over is basically just a summary of the book, and its title is The Anxious Generation: How the Great Rewiring of Childhood is Causing an Epidemic of Mental Illness. It was a book written in 2024 by Jonathan Haidt, I think is how you say it, right? Haidt, a social psychologist and professor at New York University. Haidt is known for writing nonfiction books such as The Righteous Mind, Why Good People Are Divided by Politics and Religion, and that was in 2012. And he also wrote The Happiness Hypothesis in 2006. In The Anxious Generation, he explores how the rapid integration of digital technology into children's lives has contributed to the rise of mental health issues in members of Generation Z. Haidt draws on his extensive research and expertise in moral psychology to provide a basis for understanding the various effects of modern technology on youth. And this book falls under the category of contemporary social science and psychology nonfiction. It will address themes such as the impact of technology on social and physiological development, changes in childhood play, and societal and parental roles in child development. This book is going to be discussing mental health issues, including anxiety and depression, and it does touch on cyberbullying and digital addiction. So just be aware of those things as you're going through reading or listening to this, that those things are going to be talked about in depth. And so the book is going to begin by examining how the optimism of the early 2000s tech boom soon is going to give way to concerns about the personalized and engaging nature of digital devices, which captured children's attention extensively. Haidt introduces the concept of phone-based childhood and argues that the decline in unsupervised outdoor play has led to significant mental health issues in Generation Z. I cannot imagine being ruled by a phone rather than a parent, but that's literally what's happening.
It's our culture
Yeah,
now.
that's crazy.
Yes.
Part 1 explores the rise in adolescent mental health issues from 2010 to 2015 using both anecdotal and statistical evidence. Parents have reported conflicts over screen time and behavioral changes in their children. Data shows a sharp rise in major depressive episodes, particularly among girls, linked to the rapid adoption of smartphones and social media. The author emphasizes that non-self-reported data, such as hospital admissions, corroborates this increase, highlighting the severity of the mental health crisis. That was really interesting to read, actually,
Very.
about the hospital visits and the how many were
Yes.
classified as mental health issues in that time frame. I did not even think about that, but it's crazy how it really does help solidify his point.
It really does. And the statistics he gives are really crazy to me
Yes.
that I've seen.
Yeah,
Especially
they're
in
wild.
anxiety.
Okay. Part 2 examines how smartphones and social media impact childhood development, focusing on 5 key aspects. 1, slow growth childhood, free play, attunement, social learning, and sensitive periods for learning. The author further discusses the importance of unsupervised, risky play for children's psychological development. He contrasts the increasing restrictions on children's physical activities with their unrestricted access to the digital world. He argues that unsupervised outdoor play builds resilience and confidence, teaching children how to handle risks and challenges. He discusses how safetyism and smartphones act as experience blockers, depriving adolescents of the real-world interactions needed for healthy development. Part 3 explores the negative impacts of a phone-based childhood, identifying 4 primary harms: social deprivation, sleep deprivation, attention fragmentation, and addiction. The author explains how smartphones reduce face-to-face interactions, leading to loneliness and isolation. Haidt examines why social media harms girls more than boys, using Alexis Spence's story to illustrate the impact. He outlines 4 main reasons: visual social comparison and perfectionism, relational aggression, emotional sharing, and I don't know how to say that word. Does anyone know? Contagion, and predation and harassment. The author is also going to explore the unique challenges boys face in the digital age, discussing how digital immersion leads to social isolation and fragmented attention. Part 3 is going to conclude by highlighting the impact of technology on spiritual well-being, arguing that the phone-based life leads to spiritual degradation for both adolescents and adults. Part 4 emphasizes the urgent need for societal action to mitigate the harmful effects of smartphones and social media on children. The author addresses the need for legislative and technological interventions to create a safer digital environment for young people. He then discusses the exploitative practices of tech companies and proposes several legislative actions, such as asserting a duty of care, raising the age of internet adulthood, and facilitating age verification. The author further outlines strategies for schools to address the growing mental health crisis among students, advocating for phone-free schools and more free play. Haidt and Lenore Skenazy conclude Part 4 by providing parents with practical strategies to foster healthier development in children, emphasizing balancing independence and protection. And then finally, the conclusion of the book is going to underscore the urgency of addressing the mental health crisis among Generation Z youth, explaining the great rewiring of childhood between 2010 and 2015, when smartphones and social media became
Ubiquitous.
what?
Ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous. Haidt proposes 4 key reforms: no smartphones before high school, no social media before age 16, phone-free schools, and more unsupervised play. I feel like those last 2 things are like big. He's really pushing on those.
Yeah, big
for sure.
factors for him.
Yeah. He also emphasizes collective action and community involvement to implement these reforms and improve child and adolescent mental health, calling for a return to real-world interactions. And I say amen to that.
Yes, it was very interesting to read that actually because, thinking that like, yeah, he's right, but it's like we need that third party to sit down
Yes.
and give us the information and to really open our eyes. It's really eye-opening.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm now going to get into more of the background, starting with the cultural context. The Anxious Generation, it explores the impact of cultural shifts towards digital communication and the decline of physical play on childhood development. The book situates itself within a broader conversation about how modern technology reshapes societal norms and daily interactions, particularly for the younger generation. Haidt addresses how the rapid adoption of smartphones and social media platforms has transformed the way children and adolescents socialize, learn, and perceive the world. These cultural shifts had led to a significant reduction in face-to-face interactions and unstructured playtime, which the author argues are crucial for healthy social and emotional development. He highlights how the immersive nature in digital media fosters environments where children are constantly connected online, but increasingly isolated in real life. This phenomenon, Haidt suggests, contributes to heightened levels of anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues among adolescents. The cultural context of Haidt's work is the societal expectation of constant connectivity and pressure it places on young people to curate their online personas meticulously. This pressure, combined with the decreased opportunity for real-world interactions, can impede the development of critical life skills such as empathy, conflict resolution, and resilience. Haidt's analysis aligns with broader cultural critiques that question the long-term implications of a digitally dominated society on human relationships and your well-being. The author also critiques the cultural trend of overprotection in parenting, which often limits children's opportunities for independent exploring and risk-taking. This trend, coupled with the persuasive use of digital devices, creates an environment where children are physically safe but emotionally and socially constrained. These cultural trends led to collective behaviors and societal values that have contributed to the current mental health crisis among young people.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of go into the historical context of this, the Great Rewiring and its consequences. So this book pinpoints the early 2010s as a critical period when technological advancements began significantly interfering with traditional childhood development. This was the start of the era of Great Rewiring, a time when the widespread adoption of smartphones and social media dramatically altered the landscape of adolescence. This historical context is essential for understanding the rapid and unprecedented changes that have impacted young people's mental health and socialization. The evolution of digital technology and its integration into everyday life has made smartphones ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous.
What does that word mean? And social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat massively popular.
Mm-hmm.
These technologies introduced new ways for adolescents to interact, often replacing face-to-face communication with virtual connections, which is crazy. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, on paper it really is. Reading it is crazy.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Mhm.
Haidt argues that this shift has had implications for developmental processes, leading to increased rates of anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues among members of Gen Z. The historical context also includes changes in parenting styles and societal attitudes towards safety and independence. The rise of intensive, achievement-oriented involvement of parents in their children's lives, known as the helicopter parenting, I think we've all heard that,
Yeah.
and the heightened concerns about physical safety have led to more supervised and structured childhoods. This trend coincided with the rise of digital technology, resulting in children spending more time indoors and online, further reducing opportunities for unsupervised play and exploration. Haidt's analysis situates these developments within a broader historical narrative of technological and social change, drawing connections between the advent of the internet, the proliferation of digital devices, and shifts in parenting and education practices. By examining the historical context, the author provides a comprehensive understanding of how these factors have converged to create the current mental health crisis among adolescents.
Okay, now I believe this is our last section for background. It is the social context, which is adolescents' mental health in the digital age. So to start off, the societal context of the anxious generation, it centers on the rising concern over adolescent mental health across many societies. The author examines the social dynamics that contribute to the increase of anxiety, depression, and other mental health problems among young people. He highlights how the changes in social structures, such as the decline of community-based interactions and the rise of online social networks, have reshaped the experiences of childhood and adolescence. Haidt emphasizes the role of social media in exasperating, I appreciate it, mental health issues. Platforms like Instagram and Snapchat encourage constant social comparison and competition, which I can vouch for, which can lead to feelings of inadequacy and low self-esteem. The curated nature of social media content often presents an unrealistic standard of success and happiness, creating pressure for adolescents to conform to these ideals. This social phenomenon contributes to a pervasive sense of insecurity and anxiety among young people. At the same time, the erosion of traditional social support systems, such as extended family networks and neighborhood communities, have left many adolescents feeling isolated. The author argues that the shift towards nuclear families and the increase of dual income households have reduced the time and attention parents can devote to their children. This lack of support and supervision can often lead your children to seek validation and connection online, further entrenching their reliance on digital interactions. Haidt discusses the societal expectation for academic and extracurricular excellence, which places additional stress on adolescents. This competition nature of modern education systems and the pressure to excel in multiple areas can lead to burnout and mental exhaustion, which I see all the time. Haidt suggests that these societal social pressures combined with the isolating effects of digital technology can create an environment where adolescents struggle to find balance and well-being. By examining the social context, Haidt's work highlights the need for collective action to address the mental health crisis among young people. He calls for a rethinking of societal values and practices, advocating for more support and connected communities that prioritize the well-being of children and adolescents. This includes promoting policies that encourage face-to-face interactions, providing resources for mental health support, and creating environments that allow for unstructured play and exploration, which I couldn't agree more with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now we're going to end off with the chapter summaries and analyses. I apologize. The chapter summary and analysis. Starting with the introduction, he calls this Growing Up on Mars. So the author begins the book with a hypothetical scenario, which is really helpful for me. Would we allow a visionary billionaire to recruit children for permanent settlement on Mars? This thought experiment serves as a metaphor for the impact of technology on today's youth. Haidt views it as a similarly uncontrolled experiment. This unique environment on Mars, with its low gravity and high radiation, would pose severe risks to children's developments, paralleling how the digital environment affects young minds, which was super interesting to me. Haidt recounts the optimism of the early 2000s tech boom. Technology promised to make life easier and more connected, fostering a sense of global unity. However, the tech industry influence soon extended to children, transforming their lives in unprecedented ways. The new digital devices were much more personalized and engaging than just a TV, capturing children's attention for hours, which I can relate to.
Mhm.
Despite widespread adoption, there was little understanding with the long-term mental health effects of these technologies on young minds. And after we've kind of have these effects, we're just now learning about them, which is
Right.
really crazy.
Yeah.
Haidt draws a parallel between tech companies and the tobacco industry, emphasizing how both exploited vulnerable populations while denying the negative impacts of their products. Social media and video game companies in particular target children during critical development stages. These platforms are psychological tricks to maximize engagement, often to the detriment of children's mental health. Girls, Haidt notes, are especially affected by social media, while boys are more susceptible to video games and pornography, which was super interesting to me.
Mhm.
He highlights the inequity of existing regulations, such as the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, which you'll also see as COPPA of 1998, which fails to inequitably protect children in the digital age. The ease with which children can bypass age restrictions to access potentially harmed content underscores the need for updated and stricter regulations. To kind of basically it's like you get on social media and you need to be at least 13 years old to get on it. All you need to do is fake a birthday
Yeah.
or click on a box.
And there's no verification.
no parental verification
nothing.
at all.
It's like, oh, there you go. You have complete access.
But they have this regulation, but it's just completely failing.
Yeah.
The chapter highlights the concept of a phone-based childhood, contrasting it with the play-based childhood of previous generations. Haidt argues that the children need free play to develop essential life skills and resilience. However, increasing parental fear and overprotection, coupled with the rise of digital devices, have led to a significant decline in unsupervised outdoor play. This shift has deprived children of crucial physical and social experiences necessary for healthy development. The author introduces the notion of the Great Rewiring, which Riley went over that term, where the persuasive use of digital devices have fundamentally altered the way children grow up, akin to raising a generation on Mars. This transformation, he argues, has contributed to the rise of anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues among Generation Z, the first generation to grow up fully immersed in the digital world. Now we're going on to the introduction analysis. The author approaches the introduction is significant for its use of hypothetical scenarios and analogies, making the abstract concept of digital risks more concrete and relatable. By comparing the digital environment on Earth to the risks of raising children on Mars, Haidt captures the reader's attention and sets the stage for an exploration of the modern impact of technology on social and psychological development. Haidt exploits the Mars analogy to draw parallels between environmental hazards and digital risks, emphasizing how both can pose severe threats to children's growth. To highlight the disregard for the specific developmental needs and vulnerabilities of children in both the hypothetical Mars scenario and the real-world digital environment, Haidt lays out increasingly alarming details of his hypothetical example. Children raised in low-gravity environments of Mars would be at high risk of developing deformities in their skeletons, hearts, eyes, and brains. Did the planners take this vulnerability of children into account? As far as you can tell, no. That was some context from the book, some text from the book. The analogy criticizes how modern technology companies have similarly overlooked the impact of their products on child development, prioritizing their goals over a child's well-being, which is kind of what we see a lot, like taking the greed out of things, like being greedy.
Absolutely.
Haidt provides historical context by marketing 2009 as a pivotal year where various digital innovations converged, fundamentally altering Gen Z's development. He notes, the oldest members of Gen Z began puberty around 2009, which several tech trends converged. The rapid spread of high-speed broadband in the 2020s. I'm going to reread that. The oldest members of Gen Z began puberty around 2009, when several tech trends converged. The rapid spreads of high-speed broadband in the 2000s, the arrival of the iPhone in 2007, and the new age of hyper-visualized social media. This timeline illustrates how technological advancements creates a unique environment for Gen Z, shaping their societal interactions and developmental experiences in ways previous generations did not experience. The introduction highlights how digital devices have replaced traditional, unsupervised outdoor play, an idea central to understanding of the book of. I'm going to reread that. I apologize. The introduction highlights how digital devices have replaced traditional, unsupervised outdoor play, an idea central to understanding of the book's other main theme: changes in childhood play. Haidt argues that a decline in unsupervised outdoor play has led to significant mental health issues in the Generation Z cohort. My central claim in this book is that these two trends, overprotection in the real world and underprotection in the virtual world, are major reasons why children born after 1995 became the anxious generation. This quote encapsulates Haidt's main argument, linking the rise of anxiety among children post-1995 to the dual phenomena of overprotective parenting and unregulated virtual exposure. Haidt critiques both overprotective parenting and the lack of regulation in the digital realm, highlighting societal and parental roles in the child development. He captures the persuasive sense of helplessness felt by parents as they struggle to manage their child's technology use. No matter the pattern of severity in their story, what is common among parents is the feeling that they are trapped and powerless. This quote underscores the broader societal issue of how technological advancements have outpaced parental control and traditional methods of child rearing, leaving many feeling overwhelmed and ineffective. And that's where we're going to end off today before getting into part 1, chapter 1. I hope everyone kind of gets an understanding of this book before we dive into it. And I hope everyone can get an understanding of everything we went over today. I will see you on Monday of next week. We will be continuing this book starting on part 1, chapter 1. So I really encourage you to join along, as we will also be discussing more and having more questions at the end to kind of have some real life connection with this book. So I appreciate everyone who's listened today, and I will see you Monday of next week. Thank you.